Hello and welcome to the Comic Schtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. My name is Blake Wild, you may also know me as Smokey's Videos, and on today's episode we are talking about Warner Brothers scrapped projects. But before we go into that, go check out my comic book, Destructo Boy, The Era of Alpha Cardinal, Part 1 of 2. Part 2 is coming very soon, probably within the next month or two. Making these self-published comics, it's not as easy as if I was working through a actual publisher. So it comes out a little slower, but it is coming. It is done. It is coming out. So check this out before it goes out of stock. That's the word I was trying to think of. And you too can read about the harrowing adventures of Destructo Boy right there against Alpha Cardinal. And you can also learn about this guy right here, Oren Aronitis, a cybernetic mob boss. So here is the pages on the inside, if you haven't seen this already. Fully completed comic book, about 25 or so pages. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is a beginning, middle, and end, even though it is a first-parter. $9.99 plus shipping and handling. It does come with a free head sketch of any character of your choosing. It can be Doc Ock. It can be Superman. It can be the little girl from Demon Slayer that has the green bamboo thingy in her mouth. It can be anybody. I'll draw anyone as a head sketch and include it in here free, along with my autograph, and it'll be yours. If you don't want to buy a physical copy, then there is a digital copy for $5. So that's also an option. It'll come as PDF files. And so check that out at my Etsy shop. Link in the description. It's the Linktree link. It should be like the first or second link on there. Or if you want to type it in, etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Make sure you capitalize the B, T, and W. So check that out. And you may notice something on my finger, or my finger looks a little odd. And that is because I cut it quite a lot last night. Well, cutting may not be the proper term to use. More so, I peeled it. Because as I was looking for a utensil in our kitchen drawer, I stuck my hand in, and I was pulling my hand out. The vegetable peeler sliced a little portion of the pad of my finger, and oh boy, do fingers bleed a lot. There's just a little flap of skin hanging there, and it was just blood everywhere, dripping down my finger, almost like into my hand. I was putting paper towel on it. Thankfully, it has finally stopped, and I am just keeping this bandage on here for now. But that is fun. Be very wary of vegetable peelers. I did not realize the one we had was that fucking sharp, that me going like this was enough to fucking slice a sliver of skin off. Anyway, enough of that. Let's move right into... I feel like I'm too dark for some reason on the video. Let me try upping the brightness. No, because then the problem is that I'm too pale. That looks good. Let's get right into things with a lot of comic book talk. So I'm a bit behind on my comics. What do I have down here? I need to get these just so I can remember the list of what I have to go over. Because again, moving and everything, I didn't have a chance to really read them that much. And then when I did read them, that was like a week or two ago, maybe a little more. So it's kind of hazy what's in here, or what I've read. So I'm probably going to be flipping through what I have in my little stack right here of comics that I got of ones, I just need a refresher on. Starting off, let me get these in a little better order. Starting off with Amazing Spider-Man number 5 by Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this book, this series. I was excited because I love John Romita Jr.'s artwork. I still don't think that the coloring on this works well for him. I think he works a lot better with flat colors rather than the, if you look at this, if you just like Google this cover or any of his like work from this series, you'll see that there's the painted almost gradients of the coloring. You can see the exaggerated, or not really exaggerated, but like attempts to be realistic with the lighting and everything. There's shadows cast that are made just purely by the colorist. And I don't think that works for John Romita Jr.'s art. It'd be like trying to color Jack Kirby art to look like it came out in 2022. It just does not work for his style. I do like the color hold lines that they use on some of like his art pieces. Like, let me see if I can find what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's just the biggest thing. I think it's probably going to be most noticeable on what's his name, Tombstone, than anyone else. But yeah, this issue was just, it felt like nothing. It felt like filler for a longer story, which I feel like most of these issues are going to be. So if you're in the video version watching this, and again, there's Marvel's shitty fucking gloss paper, you can't really make it out very well, but Tombstone, there's a lot of little like etching lines all along his face. They aren't purely black. Clearly the colorist has gone in and made them a brownish gray to accentuate his albinoism, to make him look a little more, grayer. Oops. Whereas on the cover, which I feel does look better, it's just the black lines. But that's an issue I have with this, is the coloring. Same issue I have with the new Spider-Man series that's going to be coming out by Mark Bagley and Dan Slott. Because, no, actually, that's what was my problem with that? I think it was the inking. So that's my main issue with this. My other issue is that it's just not endearing me. It's not encapsulating me. I'm slowing down in my interests. I have seen... Sorry, this is going to be loud. I have seen that it looks like the Hobgoblin is in this, but also Norman Osborn is helping Peter. So that's a thing that's happening, I guess. Let's see, who's this? Okay, yeah. This is issue 6, aka Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 900. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be keeping on with this series. Which is disappointing, I guess, because, at the same time, it is John Romita Jr. I've gone over how many times have I talked about how much I love his art. I talked about his entire Daredevil run that he worked on with Dan Nocenti. That was like the beginning of my podcast. That was back in season 1. Because don't forget, we're in season 2 now. What's the difference? The thumbnail's green. And we're in a new studio set. That's what I'm calling this. But where was I? I was talking about just stuff I don't like. I don't care for the story. MJ and Peter are broken up again. Fucking MJ has an inexplicable family now with some dude. There's the big mystery of what did Peter do 6 months ago or however long it was in issue 1, that as the story goes on, we're seemingly ignoring more and more, at least up to this point, to the 5th issue, or 6th issue. I don't know if... No, I don't... Yeah, no, this fucking... What am I trying to say? The story in issue 900, aka number 6, which is a legacy one, it's like supposed to be set in the past or something. But I'm not digging it. I'm not. I might pick up a trade, I'll wait until the trades come out, see if the story is improved in any way. But for now, I think issue number 6, which again has nothing to do with the main series, because it's one new story by Zeb Wells, which I did enjoy, and everything else is reprints. What's the reprint? Actually, it's mostly that story by Zeb Wells. Let's see. What is the reprint? Oh, yeah, it's a fun little story about Peter Parker going to the New York Library, returning like 100-something books that he's lost throughout his career as Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man hanging out with Jimmy Fallon. Is that Jimmy Fallon? Jimmy Kimmel. Hanging out with Jimmy fucking Kimmel. So yeah, that was a thing. But the main story in Amazing Spider-Man number 6, aka 900, which is about the living brain, which I cannot fucking believe he brought back. Well, I guess didn't really bring back because it's set in the past. But, you know, who the fuck is using living brain anymore and talking about that? It's a fun story about the living brain who is a supercomputer that was asked who is Spider-Man, and then it sort of went a little crazy. It kidnaps the Sinister Six, creates a giant adaptoid. Is that right? I think it's adaptoid. With all their powers and personalities, and Spider-Man has to fight them and team up with the Sinister Six to stop it. But it is a really fun story. It's well written. It's heartbreaking to see the living brain, like, you know, as an actual character rather than just this faceless robotic villain, because there's this like avatar of it that appears and it's this whole thing. But that story that he wrote in this, he being Zeb Wells, I enjoyed more than the 5 fucking issues that have already come out about his Spider-Man run. So, like, he can do it. It's just he's keeping it on such a low and uninteresting level that I'm not interested in it. If it was more... I don't want to say if it was too bombastic, because I've talked about how much I like slice of life stuff, but even the fucking main series is not slice of life. It's Spider-Man going against fucking Tombstone for 5 issues and getting his ass beat for about 3 of them and like kidnapped, and he's just not dealing with anything. He's like, there's nothing going on there. Speaking of speaking of slice of life comics, in like issue 3 or 4 or something, whenever he has to babysit Norman Osborn's grandsons, is that what happens? We don't see that. That could have been an issue. That could have been half of the issue. It's just, let's take a break from the mob Tombstone stuff and the villain stuff and focus on Peter Parker and his life and trying to come back. Maybe he could have seen, like, I don't know, maybe he and Mary Jane broke up or something because she wants kids and he's worried about it because he might kill her with his radioactive semen. Maybe it's something like that. We still don't know why they're not together, but we all know why they're not together. And that's Marvel. But maybe it could have been something like, oh, Peter, you know, he's starting to realize that, oh, he does want kids. He's playing with fucking Harry's kids. I can't remember what their names are. Hobby? Is that one of them? No. That's the name of Spider-Punk. But he's playing with them. He like takes them to the park. He goes to a movie. Something that just shows that, like, oh yeah, I go on about how I don't want to have kids. I don't like kids, but I'm having a fun time with them. And, like, you know, he's making, like, one of them falls and he has to, like, make sure they're okay or something. I can't remember how old they are. You know, something like that. Something endearing to the character rather than just, oh, Spider-Man got tricked to beat up a bunch of people for this rival gang by another gang leader. And he has blood all over his face and his face is fucking hugely puffed up because he got his shit kicked in. And now he's going to have dinner with Aunt May again for the fucking 1000th time. Yeah, that, I think, concludes what I have to say about Zeb Wells' current Spider-Man run. I hope it gets better. I hope it goes more in line with the fun of his story in Spider-Man number 6. But only time will tell. If it does, like I said, I might pick up the trades. If not, I don't know. Moving on. Let's see. I'm going to do X-Cellent number 4 and 5. X-Cellent number 4. Cover your ears. No, that wasn't that bad. What happens in X-Cellent number 4? Iron Cat. What the fuck is Iron Cat? Apparently it's kind of good, but I don't give a shit. Let's see. Oh, that's right. There's fluff. And not in the way that it's like filler or anything like that. So, there is this character on the X-Cellent team called Fluff. And if you remember from issue 3, we left off on this character that Mr. Emotions. What is his fucking name? I can't remember. God damn, what is his name? Guy Smith. Yeah, that's his real name, Guy Smith. I can't remember what his superhero name is, but he hires this journalist to, do some write-ups on how terrible the X-Cellent team are. A mob of X-Cellent / Zeitgeist followers attacks them at their office, and they call to x-statix to like, hey, please come help me. They're going to kill me. And they show up late. And instead, in their place, or actually they don't show up at all. Instead, Fluff, who's this character who can control the lint in his body or something, he shows up and saves the day and stops them from killing this journalist through very disgusting means. It's very gross, his powers. But he saves the day, and he looks like he's out of the 70s with how much hair and his giant sideburns he has. He goes back, he pisses off Zeitgeist, because Zeitgeist is not, he was fine with the attackers going and killing this person. He doesn't give a shit. But Fluff is a good guy deep down. Even though he is, kind of sexist, he's a playboy. He does stop this person from being lynched. So Zeitgeist orchestrates his murder by having their shitty little teleporter on the team, who's this kid Zeitgeist broke out of prison, teleport Fluff away into the fucking sky above, like, the Amazon rainforest or somewhere. And that's how that issue ends. And you're like, holy shit, what's gonna happen to Fluff? How is Fluff gonna survive? He doesn't. Keeping in true X-Force X-statix by Peter Milligan and Mike Allred form, yet another character dies. And we were introduced to this woman right here on the cover, who is a mutant by the name of Tittlepip. What's her name? Yeah, Toodlepip. Toodlepip is her name. She's English. She's a teleporter. She's a, blogger journalist who uses her powers. It's weird, because it kind of feels like she has some sort of, radiance that she can expel to make people not see her or something. But, because, she just shows up. But I guess not, because people do interact with her. So anyway, she shows up, and, she's talking to Mirror Girl, and, just fucking making Mirror Girl feel second guess everything, tells her what happened to Fluff, blah, blah, blah. Mirror Girl is sort of losing it. X-Statix, meanwhile, You Go Girl, I think is her name. I can't remember. I fucking get their names confused. She and the guy with their cybernetic arm are dating, but then they immediately break up the following issue because they're like, maybe this wasn't the best idea. I feel like we sort of just wanted to do this because Guy wouldn't let us do this. He had a problem with it. Meanwhile, X-Cellent commits a prison break, and Toodlepip follows them. And then X-Statix show up, they have a fight, blah, blah, blah. And, X-Cellent teleports away. Zeitgeist gets really pissed off. He fucking hits Mirror Girl through her, mirror border, which seems to hurt her anyway. Toodlepip shows up, and he captures her. And then he has Pood, who's the evil dupe, start experimenting on her with the copy of the Book of Vishanti that they have now created. And he's telling her his evil plans. You see, there is a, what is it called? The Rite of Apotheosis. The Rite of Apotheosis, which turns a man into a god with godlike powers, but first one must have 5 million acolytes, or in modern parlance, followers. And that is why this whole book, Zeitgeist, has been so just focused on upping his internet following is because he knows about this goal or this right, and to achieve it, he needs 5 million followers or 500 million followers. And that's what he's working on. And now, since he has Toodlepip enslaved, they have a great teleporter now, because she has been fucking doing this her whole life. She knew how to teleport into their house. She knew how to teleport wherever they went to follow them and talk about them. So he uses his acidic vomit and kills the kid that he fucking freed from prison. So that is 2 deaths within 1 issue, which is pretty much, that's all the deaths that have happened so far, I think, which is odd for this. Then what do they do? Do they go to... Yeah. So meanwhile, X-Statix are at a signing at their store. Because, again, X-Statix are everything that Youngblood wanted to be, which is superheroes who are celebrities. They go to the store, and then they realize that, oh shit, Toodlepip has teleported X-Cellent to their base, and now they're fucking wrecking shit. And then the biggest twist of this whole series, you turn the last page to where you'll see the cover for the next issue, and it says, "Next, it's not over till Zeitgeist says so. Zeitgeist and the team will return later this year in," and then you're like, okay, that's an odd way to say this, "The X-Cellent Season 2. There are 2 seasons, which I don't understand why comics are doing this so much now. There was the Green Lantern season from Grant Morrison, both seasons from that, and then I think there's another series that's getting, they're going like, oh yeah, it's multiple seasons. There's X-Cellent, which is this. I don't get it. Is it just a way to say we're an ongoing series, but we got to take a hiatus or a break to let the artist catch up or something? Is that just what it is? Is saying like, oh yeah, we just wanted to take a break. I feel like with Grant Morrison, it may have been more planned out. I'm not sure. But with the X-Cellent, that was just a complete shock, was that I'm going to have to wait however long until the next couple issues. Which is disappointing. I'm disappointed by that. I was really looking forward to see where this goes, and now I gotta wait, which may also, that's also a reason to split it up into seasons. If people are really digging the book, like they are with X-Cellent, since it's from Milligan and Allred, then, they're gonna want to see what happens. And if you split it up like this, then, oh, hey, in a couple months, there might be some new readers who are like, oh, X-Cellent Season 2? What's this? I didn't even know about X-Cellent Season 1, so now I gotta go and pick up those books again. I gotta pick up the trade paperback of the first 5 issues so I can catch up. Is it a sales tactic purely? Is it something to do with the creators on board? I don't know. But it is excellent, and I really dig the series. I have no issues with it. I have no complaints. It reads like the X-Statix series, which I've only read very little of. But reading this and another book that I'm going to be discussing in a little bit, which is Superman Space Age, has made me pick up not just Mike Allred and Matt Fraction's entire run of their Fantastic Four, or FF, as it's called in here and stylized, but also, I have these laying on the floor, so hold on. I picked up 3 books of Mike Allred's Madman, the entire run of X-Statix, which is what the X-Force series became after Milligan and Allred came onto it. Let's see, this is flipped around. There we go. The entire run of X-Statix, and the entire run of X-Force, which is much harder to find as single issues. And I don't think X-Statix is... The only place I can find where they've seemingly all been collected are the omnibuses, which are out of print and too expensive. So I bought these, and which should be all of them. Yeah, it goes... So I think that's all of them. I think it ended at 120. That sounds about right. So you know, I'm going to be able to learn the history of the X-Statix and X-Force series from Milligan and Allred, and that way, you know, maybe when Season 2 does come out, I will be one of those people who is like, oh shit, maybe I should go back and revisit Season 1. And I'll have a much better understanding of it. I'll be able to see, like, oh, that's where that character goes. That's how they end up. Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, I highly recommend you check out Season 1 of X-Cellent, The X-Cellent. Right? Is that how it's said? Yeah. It is well worth it. Mike Allred's art is fantastic. Peter Milligan's writing is very fun. It has a certain quality to it, specifically in this series, that I feel mirrors Mike Allred's art perfectly. And that is the characters, just the way that they speak is just it's slightly unnatural. It's very much it feels like it's manufactured. Like just the way that they exposit to themselves and others and how they have conversations. But that's just the je ne sais quoi of Peter Milligan and Mike Allred working together on this, specifically Peter Milligan, since I'm talking about the writing. It just has like a sort of uncanny valley quality to it, to where everything just doesn't feel quite right. Like, you know, oh, these are real people experiencing these things, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's like Twin Peaks or something. Like, it's set in a real world, but people just act off. And I really like that because, you know, these are oddballs. These are cast outs. These are people who aren't going to be popular. So, you know, it sort of makes sense that they would give them this weird voice to where, like, in this weird inflection, this weird way of speaking. I don't know what is happening in my hair. But I really enjoy that is, you know, the way it's written. It stands out. So again, I highly recommend checking out The X-Cellent, issues 1 through 5, and prepare yourself for Season 2. I don't think it's been announced when it's coming out. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything about it, but I am looking forward to it. All right, moving on to more comics. I think I had Jurassic League, but I don't know what I did with that one. Jurassic League, it's... I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I'll try and find it. I can't remember if I read it or not, but I'll talk about it next week. Because I still got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm a half hour into this show, and I'm still not done with the opening segment of the comics. Ant-Man is one I'm going to skip. And I'm instead going to talk about Spider-Punk first. So... Spider-Punk number 3. Let's find out what happens in this. Still shitty fucking quality. Oh yes, it is about Daredevil. And is Kingpin in this in some shape or form? Yeah, that's right. He's a big burly black guy who looks like he works in a late 1800s shipyard for some reason. So, if you remember last time I spoke about this, they are going across the country to, discover the former Norman Osborn, former president, now deceased, killed by Spider-Punk in a Spider-Verse crossover. He has secret bunkers all over the country with various technologies and equipments and whatevers. They end up in Chicago? I can't quite recall, Philadelphia. They end up in Philadelphia, which is guarded by, like, Japanese characters in a motorcycle gang. We have Sunspot and fucking Dakin and Armor of the X-Men. They are all characters in this motorcycle gang that are working for the Kingpin. They show up, they meet Daredevil, who's this badass, blind, punk rocker drummer chick. Everybody's a fucking drummer in this universe, it feels like. It is cool because there is a scene where she does like hit her drumsticks against a roof, and she uses that for echolocation. I enjoyed Punk Devil. I think she's just called Daredevil. Again, it's a fun series. I feel like the momentum has died down, but that is not at the fault of the creators of this issue or series. That is my own personal affection that I'm putting upon this. That's not the correct term. And that's just because I haven't read it in a while. There was a big gap between when I read issues 2 and 3, and I feel it would work a lot better if I had not had that, if I read them closer together. It's fun seeing Hobby Brown again. This issue, it really does focus primarily on Daredevil, which is fun. It's very much, hero of the week is seemingly what they're doing. Does it show what the next issue is? Not really. It's just a poster. Or it's just like, it doesn't show if there's going to be a special guest star or anything. I haven't read issue 4. I never got it ordered in time, and now I think I'm really behind now. But the big reveal at the very end is that Norman Osborn is still alive as a severed head with the Venom symbiote on it, beneath like a fucking bunker in Washington, D.C. or somewhere. I don't know. But the kids are now heading to Washington, D.C. And they're calling themselves the Spider Band. Some of this stuff is a little, is that really, it's kind of cringy in terms of dialogue, as in like here, just the ending. It's hokey. It's corny is what I'm getting at. And not in a way that I enjoy, which is, typically like, the Silver Age style dialogue. DC is within spitting distance, and folks, just 'cause we were born to lose doesn't mean we can't win. Sing it with me now. And then everybody sings, Spider Band in the Spider Van, cleaning up Philly the only way a Spider Band can. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Kamala Khan is in this. She's fun. It's fun that everybody punches Kingpin at the same time, and that's how they defeat him. It's, again, beautiful art by Justin Mason. I don't have, any problems with that. I love his style. I love the coloring, especially the Daredevil blind scenes. Those are always fun to see how they're depicted. But yeah, I do want to continue reading this series because I want to see how it plays out. I want to support it as much as I can. So, have you read it? What do you think? And there we drop another one down there. I should probably pick these up a little better so I don't roll over them with my chair. Okay, now moving on to the last Marvel issue, and that is Ant-Man #1 by Al Ewing and Tom Riley. Does it say? Is this one of those fucking comics? There we go. Yeah, Tom Riley. This issue is the best thing Marvel has put out in years that I've read. So I haven't read much, but this is just incredible. I am biased because Hank Pym, Ant-Man, is one of my favorite Marvel characters. I'm also biased because I absolutely adore the Silver Age of comics. It's my favorite era of comic history. And Al Ewing does just an incredible job recreating the dialogue. Speaking of what I was just saying, the hokey dialogue of the 60s, the Stan Lee style captions and dialogue that explains what's happening in the show as it's going, as the issue, in the episode. It brings back like fucking just randomly obscure villains from Tales to Astonish, like the window washer who had special alien chemicals that could, I think, freeze people or control them or something. There's, who is it? What is it? The Protector. This jazz musician who practiced hypnosis with his music. And just everything is so great. Even this is such a great gag. Hank Pym. So what it is that Hank Pym and Janet, my big Marvel crush, they go out on a date and they're in a movie. This kid is fucking throwing popcorn at Hank. So he yells at him and he's like, oh, I'm going to go teach them a lesson. When he goes out to refill his popcorn bucket, he gets a bunch of ants to crawl over the kid and freak him out and run away. And then who should happen to be outside and see this trail of ants leaving the movie theater but one of the villains. And the villain's like, oh shit, well, I know what this means, and gets his little weapon out to spray Hank Pym. And so Hank Pym is kidnapped. And how exactly does it play out? Okay, yeah, so he gets kidnapped. The guy, he like sprays him with the paralyzing chemical. This van pulls up and the villains all hop him, like chuck him inside and drive away. So Hank Pym uses his ant helmet to send a message to the ants to take a message to Janet. So Janet is sitting in the theater wondering what happened to Hank, and she sees a bunch of ants on the ground carrying pieces of popcorn, and she looks down and sees that they are sending a message from Hank that says, "Hlep." And she goes, "They're spelling out a message. I guess English is their second language, but I get the gist. Hank's in danger." Which is such a fucking great gag, and it is just, it's such, this whole issue is so evocative of the Silver Age issues that Stan Lee would have been writing, and maybe Jack Kirby would have been illustrating, or one of the other members who was around then. But there is this mystery going on, which is this man in this black form-fitting suit and trench coat with a black hair and a goatee, and who is using these this almost Doctor Doom-like time teleportation pads, but he's traveling through time, and it all ends, I'm sure people have seen this, but he is like the Ant-Man of the future, and he says, to save the world of tomorrow from the deadliest menace of yesterday, he needs Hank Pym's help. And my God, is Tom Riley a genius. Because look at this art depicting the future. It is lineless. It is just fucking perfect. Jordi Belair is absolutely, oh my God. The coloring in this book is just beautiful. The ability to convey this Silver Age quality of like coloring and everything, it still looks like too clean. Like there's certain like methods of coloring that wouldn't have been possible, in that it, it looks sort of painted, but it has that texture and everything. But it just, it's fucking, I love this book. I cannot say enough how much I love this book, and I need more. I need more of this. And there's this meta narrative of the Ant-Man of the future, aka 2549 AD, and it's called Marvel MRVL TM Narrative Experience TM, adjusted for period. Reader, instructions follow. Please obey all the instructions for complete Marvel narrative experience. And it's like, okay, he's like, this is him like activating this like device or something, I guess. That's how I read it. I didn't read it as actual captions. I read it as like, this is this version of Ant-Man interacting with some sort of time travel device by this Marvel narrative experience company, because it's followed by the portal opening up beneath him and saying, reader instruction, during the following temporal displacement montage, contemplate the following questions. And as he's falling, who is the Ant-Man? What is the Ant-Man? Why is the Ant-Man? When is the Ant-Man? Where is the Ant-Man? Temporal displacement montage complete. Era, the far past. Narrative readjustment commencing. Thank you. And as that narrative readjustment is commencing, he changes art style to the past version. This is such a creatively beautiful book. And when Ant-Man Hank Pym is taken to the future, he also changes art styles. And it is just, God almighty, this is such a fantastic level of book. Why is Marvel not creating more stuff like this? Is what I want to know. Because this is a fucking work of art. This is a genius comic with a meta-narrative and just a fucking perfect encapsulation of a time period. And that's what it's about, is time. I should mention that the kid in the movie theater is Eric Grady, who becomes one of the Ant-Man in the future, and we also see Scott, what is his last name? Let's see. Where is it? Scott Lang. There you go. I could not remember his last name. Scott Lang is this like burglar that Janet comes across. So it's all interwoven. It's just, goddamn is Al Ewing an incredible writer. Goddamn is Tom Riley an incredible artist. And goddamn is Jordi Belair a fucking incredible colorist. People, go buy this book. This is the best book Marvel is putting out right now. This series is top class comics. And another top class comic. Oh my god, this episode is gonna be so long. Jesus Christ, I was not expecting this to take so long. Another top class comic is Superman Space Age #1 by Mark Russell, Michael Spike Allred. I don't understand these fucking nicknames he gets for himself. In X-Cellent, he's called Doc. In this, he's called Spike. This is just a beautiful rendition of... It's oversized. It's about Superman in the 80s. And it's 1986. Well, technically it's in the 60s. And then it's... So, what it is... Oh my god. It's another meta-narrative as well. And it's fucking incredible. So, Superman... He crashes to Earth in the 30s or so. It's basically what happens. Maybe not the 30s. No, it's the 20s. No, not the 25. He comes to Earth in about the 40s because it's after John Kent is out of the war. He comes back from World War II. So it's sometime in the mid to late 40s that Superman crashes to Earth. And, it's just a basic tale of Superman. Lex Luthor is in this book. It goes from, the 60s is when it mostly takes place, 1963, once Kennedy is assassinated. Lex Luthor is in there. We see a cameo by Bruce Wayne. The world is at the brink of destruction against itself. The Soviets are coming against the Americans, who are going against the Soviets. LexCorp has their own plans in mind for how to survive the impending apocalypse that Lex Luthor is trying to cause. And Clark Kent is trying to figure out how he can use his powers to make the world a better place. And he does so by finding the Fortress of Solitude, which has the traditional style Jor-El costume, which I love. And he's like, okay, I'm not ready for this. So he goes home after his first flight. And then he goes to Metropolis. And then it's mostly, it's the traditional story. He's on the beat. He does like the crank cases, the crank column or something like that is what they call it. Which is, we interview crazy people and see what they have to say. So one person that he gets to interview at the bar called The Seagull, which is right next to the shoe store, which is owned by Joe's. If you don't get it, it's Siegel and Schuster, the creators of Superman. And this fucking person who he meets is Pariah. Goddamn Pariah from Crisis on Infinite Earths, a video which I will hopefully have out soon. Pariah is here. And it is Pariah. This is revealed to take place like before Crisis on Infinite Earths is happening. Because Pariah tells the exact same story about what happened to him, how he was trying to discover the creation of existence, and antimatter flooded into his universe and destroyed everything, how there's an anti-monitor, how he now gets teleported from world to witness their destructions, and there's nothing he can do about it, and trillions are dying. And he says it's all his fault. So he knows, or he still thinks that it's his fault that the worlds are being destroyed and everything. So it is before Crisis on Infinite Earths is happening. And And he tells Clark that, let's see. He goes, if I was from the future, why would I come back to this time as idiotic as this? I'm not from the future, I just know the future. Clark asks what happens in the future. And Pariah says, what do you think happens? It ends. Clark asks when. Pariah says, about 20 years from now. 1985, which is where this book opens up, as the world is a smoldering mess. And, oh my god, this book is so fucking emotional when it opens, because Clark lands at the Fortress of Solitude as the Earth is collapsing and being destroyed, and he says goodbye to the Bottle City of Kandor. He walks through his, like, big trophy room in the fortress. He activates, or he, like, deactivates all the crystal technology to go towards, like, the living quarters and the life support. Lois is there. Their son, Jonathan, is there. And before the flashback to 1963, it just shows it's them embracing each other as the world around them collapses. And it is just knowing what is going to happen to these people on this planet is just so fucking depressing. We get Hal Jordan, we get Batman, as in, like, his proto suit. We get Wonder Woman at the very end addressing like the United Nations, and the Hall of Justice is completed, and the Justice League form at the end of this issue. But the fact that this takes place before and seemingly during Crisis on Infinite Earths was just mind-blowing, because it was not what I was expecting. I thought it would just be a cool Mark Russell, Mike Allred Superman story set in the past. But no, yeah, we apparently we know how this book is going to end. And that is with Superman and his world dying. But until then, let's see how this ride plays out. I highly recommend Superman Space Age. Can't go wrong with Mark Russell. Can't go wrong with Mike Allred and Laura Allred. And that, 50 minutes into the podcast, concludes my comics recap of everything that I've talked, or everything that I've read. Oh my god. Moving on to more comic-related stuff, and that is that there's apparently going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind comic book. Sorry, I'm just bringing stuff up right now because I did not prepare properly. So the Cosmic Rewind, if I can find a website that talks about it. Cosmic Rewind, if you're unaware, is a ride that is at Disney World. It is about, like, the Celestials trying to, like, kidnapping Earth or something, and the Guardians are the only people that can stop it or something. The World Mind is collecting data for the new Xandar Pavilion on Terra, and who knows Earth better than Peter Quill? What Star-Lord doesn't know is that a Celestial has been watching and waiting for the Guardians to be distracted to begin his plan to wipe humanity from existence. That's the premise of the ride. So, seemingly, they are turning this Disney ride into a comic. Which, you know, they made the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, so this isn't as crazy as that. It's just an odd edition. I don't... who's it written by? It's written by Kevin Shinnick with art by Gerardo Sandoval. It's a 32-page one-shot, so thankfully it's not a series, although it does say number 1. So how is that a one-shot? WDWNT, Walt Disney World News Today.com. Answer me that. Next on the new comics that are coming out is Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is being relaunched, even though it's really close to hitting, like, one of those milestone issues. I can't remember what 100 it is, but it's one of them. So it is relaunching in November. Dan Slott is off the book after his couple years that he was on it. Thankfully, he wasn't on as long as he was on Spider-Man, but he is going back to Spider-Man, like I talked about earlier. This is going to be by Ryan North and artist Iban Coelho. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. Let's see. North and Coelho will kick off their FF run by trapping Ben Grimm and his wife Alicia Masters in a Groundhog Day-style time loop in a small town. And from there, the new creative team will bring some classic Star Trek Adventure of the Week type storytelling. The quote from Ryan North is, quote, "I want to do these smaller, self-contained stories in the vein of 60s Star Trek where they go down to a planet, find a weird thing, fix the weird thing, and move on. Having these four weirdos roll into town where there's a mystery or a problem or some sci-fi thing to solve, and then move on, struck me as a very interesting way to position the Fantastic Four and tell stories that would feel fresh and not like a retread of what we've seen before." There's also an incredible Frank Miller variant cover, which is just fucking insane. So, I am all for this. I have my issue pre-ordered. I am excited to read it. The fucking art looks insane. I'm excited for this. I hope that they continue to, like, I don't know how many issues it's going to be, or how many issues. What I'm wondering is how many issues are they going to keep in that vein of Monster of the Week, Sci-Fi Story of the Week sort of thing. Like, is that issue with Ben Grimm and Alicia in a Groundhog Day thing, is that going to be just the one issue, beginning, middle, and end? Or is it going to be a couple parters? I'm wondering how they're going to do that and how long they'll plan to stick with that. Because while I enjoy that idea, I'm sure there's plenty of people who do not. Moving on, Monica Rambeau gets a limited comic series coming out this December. Monica Rambeau, aka Photon, co-star of WandaVision. She's the black woman with the cool afro. She's going to be in the Marvels. She's getting her own limited series, so that's cool. It's her first limited series, like, just by herself. She was in Next Wave Agents of Hate as a main character. That's probably where most people I feel know her from, maybe. Marvel announces oversized gallery hardcover of Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Spider-Man Blue. So that is cool. I hope that they plan on doing all the color series. I wonder if it's going to be printed by IDW, because IDW seems to specialize a lot in, like, artist editions, gallery editions, whatever else, oversized sort of things. And, you know, since it seems like Disney bought Marvel, well, that's not what I was trying to say. Since, like, the past few years, it seems like Marvel has, or IDW has shifted into publishing more Disney Marvel related stuff. So I wonder who's going to be releasing that. And I also wonder how big it's going to be exactly, because that would be very cool to have, as the oversized, just to be able to see Tim Sale's beautiful art from that book. Deadline. Okay, here we go. We're getting into some movie-related stuff. Deadline. Green Lantern and the Penguin series is still apparently moving along. Warner Brothers Discovery is shitting the bed in every goddamn way possible. David Zaslav, a man who has never run a film production company or any media company this big before, of the like of Warner Brothers, is just fucking burning bridges and making ruinous decisions in regards of greed and capitalism. But apparently the Green Lantern and Penguin series are still being made. God knows where they're going to come out at. Maybe regular HBO, because HBO Max is dying and is basically buried at this point. So they can sell instead to the middle American consumer base, which is what Discovery focuses on primarily. And that, for some reason, is what they're focusing on now. Wednesday Addams. No, that's not what it's just called. Wednesday. So they released the Wednesday trailer. From Tim Burton comes Wednesday, a Netflix limited series or Netflix series about Wednesday Addams. And I'm very excited for it. It looks really good. Luis Guzman plays Gomez Addams. Catherine Zeta-Jones plays Morticia Addams. Somebody plays the boy. But most importantly is Jenna Ortega plays Wednesday Addams. And my God, did this show reignite my crush for Wednesday Addams that I have held since I was a child. What boy in their right mind who was either straight or bisexual did not have a crush on Wednesday Addams when they were young? I ask you that, America. I ask you that. Jenna Ortega, I'm sorry, but she is... I have a full-on crush on her now. She is just beautiful. She just has such a great personality in the clips that we've seen from her playing Wednesday Addams. This looks like a hoot. I cannot wait to watch this. People were, I saw comments are like, oh, I hope that they release episodes every Wednesday, not seemingly realizing that it's on Netflix where they don't fucking do that. But my God, it looks like a lot of fun. Luis Guzman, people are fucking bitching because he doesn't look like the Raul Julia version. He looks like the comic book version, which I feel like not many people know is that Wednesday Addams. Well, yeah, Wednesday Addams and the rest of her family were a comic book. But Luis Guzman, I loved him in IMDb. He looks so much like the comic book version. All those gross teeth. He does have more hair than the comic. But that's a pretty great casting. And I can't remember the last time I saw him in anything. So it's nice to see him have a little comeback. Even though I don't know how often or how much Wednesday's family is actually going to appear in this show. Because it seems like it mainly focuses on her going to this boarding school for like witches and mummies and werewolves and other supernatural entities. But this looks very good. Game of Thrones Dragon House. Dragon House has officially been released, and I don't give a shit. I never cared for Game of Thrones. I never read the books. I watched the entire first season of the show many years ago, and I never bothered to continue afterwards, so I cannot care less about this. I read the Wikipedia article because I thought it would be fun to like read the synopsis of the whole episode, and then for me to try and remember what happens, but I just completely wiped that out of my mind because I didn't deem it important enough, I guess. So I'm going to move on to leaked photos. Well, I guess it's not really leaked since it seems some of these were official release of the Ironheart upgraded armor from Wakanda Forever. The original version of the armor that we did see leaked, it resembles the Ultimate Iron Man suit. It's very bulky in terms of like the hands and the feet. The helmet is almost similar to the Ultimate Iron Man suit, but this upgraded armor, like a lot of the upgrades in the MCU in terms of their suits and costumes, is just worse and boring. It's like black, mostly black and red. It doesn't inspire creativity or interesting visuals when I look at it. Let's see. Spirit Halloween. This is something I do want to let everybody know, is that there is a Spirit Halloween, the movie, coming out. If you don't know what Spirit Halloween is, Spirit Halloween is a chain of pop-up stores that come around every September to October. They're Halloween-based stores, sell costumes, props, makeup, decorations, novelty items, cups, fucking bags, stuff like that. Stuff that's generally horror-themed, Halloween-themed, spooky animatronics, that kind of stuff. There's a one in town. There were two here previously, that one of which was in a former Toys R Us. But now that Toys R Us, in the most American way possible, got sold to a gun store. So now, what's more American than a former Toys R Us being turned into a gun store that still has the tiled rainbow arch going across the doorway? So now there's only one location for the Spirit Halloween here in my town. But this location that is still here was the better version of it. So that's basically what it is if you're unfamiliar, if you don't have it where you live. It's going to star a bunch of people I've never heard of. Donovan Colan, Dylan Martin Frankel, Jaden J. Smith, and Marissa Reyes, who I assume are all late teens, early 20s actors who are probably in like Disney stuff or are nepotistic adventures. They all decide to spend a night at an abandoned Spirit Halloween store, which makes not much sense because it is a chain of pop-up stores. So is it an abandoned Spirit Halloween store? Is it just an empty Spirit Halloween store? Is it the abandoned store that the Spirit Halloween took over? Only to find out that its products and animatronic creatures have come alive and set out to haunt them. The boys and Kate, who's Marissa Reyes, must work together to defeat the spirit trapped inside the store before midnight, or it will possess one of them for all eternity. Way to drive up the stakes. Whoever wrote this shitty movie that's going to perform poorly. Wow, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so worried about one of them. So yeah, that is a thing that is fucking happening. Spirit Halloween, the movie. Dan Harmon says a Community movie is happening. He adds that there is a storyline for the film and negotiations are underway. This is news that has broken out a lot over the past few days. Community is finally getting its movie after the long-promised 6 seasons in a movie. And it's taken, about 7, almost 8 years for any real news to come about of a movie. But, Dan Harmon has enough clout, I feel, in the entertainment industry to get this to happen. I doubt it's going to be through theatrical release. What was the biggest? I feel like Bob's Burgers and maybe the what the fuck is that fucking British show called? It's not Bridgerton. Downton Abbey. Those are the 2 biggest movies based on TV shows that have released in recent years. The only other one I can really think of is The Simpsons movie from 2007. But that is incredible. I cannot wait to see this. Probably, if anything, I feel like Netflix might bring it back. Because Netflix, after they got the license to, stream it, that's when Community really blew up. That was in 2019, 2020, when people were in quarantine, so everybody was blowing up about Community. So I feel like if anything, it's going to come through Netflix. Paul Rudd has been cast in Only Murders in the Building Season 3. I have not finished Season 2 of the Only Murders in the Building series, so please no spoilers in the comments. But I wonder if it's going to be a main role. I wonder if it's going to be similar to Sting and Amy Schumer's roles, where he's just this sort of guest star celebrity. Or I wonder if he is going to be, I don't know. I wonder if he's just going to be playing a character in this show. There's no real information, seemingly, aside from the fact that he's just in it. So, but Only Murders in the Building, I was not expecting to go past the first season, let alone a second season. So that is fantastic. It is an amazing show. It's cozy. Just that intro theme is very cozy feeling. It's a great show. Check it out if you haven't already. Steve Martin, Martin Short, fucking best comedic duo there is. Fuck off, Key and Peele. Get out of here, Laurel and Hardy. Abbott and Costello. Who? All I need is Steve Martin and Martin Short and no one else, because they were only the 2 that ever interacted together. They definitely never had a third guy who's an asshole. Chevy Chase is who I'm alluding to. I'm going to skip some stuff. Okay. I think I'm going to save my She-Hulk discussion until next week, since we are very late into this episode already. So, stay tuned for next week when I discuss Peaky Blinders, Bullet Train, I Am Groot, and She-Hulk alongside Reservation Dogs. Next week is a lot of TV stuff. All right, let's go down to some DC, Discovery, Warner Brothers stuff. Batman Caped Crusader is still in production. It does not have any distribution, however. Caped Crusader is a spiritual successor sequel to the Batman animated series. It was going to be worked on by Greg Rucka and Kurt Busiek? Who else was it? It was some other big Batman writer. I can't remember who. But it has been canceled off of HBO Max because, like I said, Discovery are fucking maniacs and they're getting rid of HBO Max. because they'd rather pander to middle to late age consumer markets with little income to just watch their mindless fat people shows and shows about people getting married on a reality show in a month and whatever, fucking pimple popper or whatever. That's what they're focusing on. And that is why media is dying. Warner Brothers Discovery has lost $2.3 billion in market capital since like 2 weeks ago at the time of this recording, I think is what around that time. I didn't put a specific date. Warner Brothers Discovery has put their plans to launch HBO Max in India on indefinite hold. So, that does not bode well for HBO Max anywhere else because they're seemingly merging HBO Max and Discovery Plus together, which I have not talked about this yet. I am not going to continue to subscribe to whatever membership fucking service they have after they do this. I am not sorting through My 600-Pound Life seasons 1 through 56 to find Peacemaker, for example. I hate those shows. Those are disgusting. They're sick. They are apathetic entertainment, if anything. Oh my God, what a great show to watch. This person who is wallowing away in their own mess of fat folds and breadcrumbs. I'm going to watch a TV show about how they're slowly dying due to poor health. God almighty, what is wrong with people that is a fucking show that they watch season after season? It's not even like The Biggest Loser. I guess I can understand that in a way, because that show, if I remember correctly, that is about people who are exceedingly overweight, but they're trying to better themselves. Shows like My 600-Pound Life, those shows promote that sort of lifestyle. They're like, oh, no. You do you. We're just going to slowly film you dying like a documentary crew watching a dying meerkat in the outback of the savannah. Just, God almighty, I'm not sticking around for whatever happens to HBO Max when Discovery merges it with their piece of shit HGTV reality series. I'm not paying for that. But yeah, the thing in India, there's a fucking... How many people... What's the population of India? Population of India. At this time, in 2020... there was 1.38 billion people. What is half of 1.38 billion? 1.38 billion divided... Why am I spelling this? Ah, fuck, I used my cut finger. Divided by 2. That is 690 million. So if they released HBO Max in India, and if they got even half of their population, they would make... What is the subscription? Okay, let's do some HBO Max subscription price. Ow, I used the finger again. God damn it. HBO Max is $14.99 a month. $15 USD to... what does India use? Is that the rupee? USD to INR. Let's see. I don't really know why I'm converting this to rupees. So let's see. That is 1,000. That is 1197 rupees. Okay, 1197 times 690 million. I bet you weren't expecting me to do math in this episode. Oh, that is a big ass number. Okay, let's take this number, INR to USD. So, that is a lot. I don't even know how big that is. What, fucking, how many digits is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, let me figure this out. 1, 2, 3. Okay. How many commas does a billion have? Oh, wait. Number of zeros in a billion is 9. Okay, so that would be about... So that's about a billion some odd rupees, which in USD... Let's see, that comes out to... I gotta put the commas just to make this make sense. This makes no sense what I'm doing, by the way. This is not how this would work at all. I'm just pissed off at Warner Brothers Discovery, but they'd make maybe about $10 billion. $10 billion if they were able to get half of the population of India to pay for a subscription to HBO Max. They would make maybe about $10 billion off of that deal. But they're not, because they're killing HBO Max. And that is Math with Smokey. Thank you for coming. I really started losing steam there a little bit. They have a 10-year plan for Warner Brothers, the DC stuff specifically. There's the cost cuts. They're $50 million plus in debt. And AT&T are really the real winners out of this, let's be honest. They don't have to deal with that debt. They sold it all off to Discovery, who are fucking idiots for buying it in the first place. Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Haunt have been completely scrapped amid the cost savings push. Of course, why would you not cancel the cheaper film with a female lead and rising star who isn't wanted by the police in several American states? Discovery is fucking Looney Tunes. Literally. They are fucking Looney Tunes because they're not even using them and they're just insane. Insiders were saying that big budget films made directly for streaming, apparently Discovery believes those are no longer viable under the financial ideals and ideology of the new company's strategy. Michael Keaton is not going to be Batman anymore, which is something I'm fine with. He was apparently supposed to be the Batman in the DC universe after Flashpoint, or after the Flash movie. I didn't like that to begin with. If anything, now what's going to happen is Michael Keaton is going to, Barry's going to mess with the time stream, Michael Keaton becomes Batman, and then at the end, Ben Affleck comes back or something. That's what I thought would happen anyway, or at least if it wasn't Ben Affleck, it would be some new actor, not Pattinson, but someone else. I never expected for them to fully buy into, let's just make Michael Keaton the new Batman. I always thought it would be a temporary thing, but apparently not. Batgirl, if you're unaware, was starring Leslie Grace as Barbara Gordon, Michael Keaton as Batman, J.K. Simmons as Gordon, and Brendan Fraser as Firefly. Allegedly, the backstory for what was going to happen in the Batgirl is that Firefly was like a slower goon, so I assume that means, mentally slow. He wasn't maybe not all there, some sort of, learning disability or something. He worked for a mob boss that went straight to support his son's political aspirations. So once the mob boss went straight, Firefly had to get a new job, which was like some normal job to try to pay for his sick wife's health care. He gets fired. He turns back to crime. He and Batgirl eventually meet, and he tells her not to get involved in the lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. Batgirl goes after some gangs. He eventually helps her take them down, and the last scene involved them teaming up and diving off of a gargoyle. That may sound dumb. I think it sounds kind of cute. It's almost like, it's kind of like Leon the Professional, except not creepy. It's Brendan Fraser, people. He would have made it work. And it was made by the guys who made Bad Boys for Life, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, who have recently gone out and said that DC, Warner Brothers, have seemingly erased every piece of footage from the company's accessible hard drives and storage areas. And now they're doing funeral showings of the film to certain people, to where, hey, we'll show the employees the movie, and then we're destroying every piece of it. What backwards ass logic is this? Is it the fucking 20s? Is it the point where, oh, the movie studio got the reel of feel? Hell, got the reel of film. Hey, should we send this to the salt mine to keep it intact? And just chuck it in that damp old fucking closet over there. This film won't, no one will care about this. The fucking Jesus Christ, how backwards are they that they think that streaming is not the future, that they think that they can just reiterate what happened in the 2000s and the early 2010s is what I was going to say, not late, and to make it work in the 2020s. Times have moved on, Zaslav. I know you're watching this. Times have moved on, Discovery. You gotta make those changes. You have to be the person making these changes because you're in charge of everything. Bob Dylan has a whole song about it. It's such a fucking shame we're never going to see this movie. Even if it was bad, this is such fucking horse shit that they are just destroying these creators' works. It's the same thing with Zack Snyder. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, restore the Snyderverse, blah, blah, blah. No, because the fucking Snyderverse sucked. To be frank, it did not do well. It did somewhat well box office-wise, did not do very well critically among audiences and their reception of it. Zack Snyder was a bad choice to make with that to push an entire cinematic universe. But by God, did I root for the Snyder Cut to be a thing, because I always felt that he should have had his chance to finish what he started. I feel the same way here. I don't like this, to use, for lack of a better term, censorship of this film. It is so obnoxious, just this capitalistic endeavor that is being undertaken by this company who does not seemingly want to have to use the most popular characters in existence, the most popular... They think about it this way. Batman Caped Crusader isn't going to HBO. It's not going to HBO Max. They own Batman. They own the spiritual sequel to the most popular superhero animated show of all time. And they aren't using it. They're selling it off for distribution to somebody else. They're like, fuck it, not our problem. We gotta go film some fat ass killing themselves so they can fucking... Some goddamn housewife who lives in bumfuck middle of America nowhere can watch this with her grandmother as she's in a dying marriage. Fuck's sake. Hey... the Batman 2 has a writer in Mattson Tomlin who's going to co-write it with Matt Reeves. So that's cool. But hey, in other news, Matt Reeves has signed a multi-year film deal at Warner Brothers, which makes me think that he is, it's something along the lines of what Christopher Nolan had, which is, I make a film for you, I get to make my own film, you do whatever, you release it, then I'll make something for you. For Matt Reeves, it's seemingly very similar to Christopher Nolan in that he makes the Batman, he makes his own thing, then he makes the Batman 2, then his own thing, and, ad nauseum for however long. But finally, at an hour and a half into this episode, which may be the longest yet, probably not, we are getting to this week's topic. Canceled Warner Brothers projects. Now, most of these are going to be animation, at least at the beginning of this list. There's a fair amount of animated stuff going on here. It's actually not as much as I thought, but it was kind of hard to find interesting things like in this list. A lot of it was animation. A lot of it was just like obscure shit that nobody really cares about. But let's start this right off. In the 1990s, after the success of the Batman animated series, they wanted to make a Catwoman, the animated series, seemingly from the same creators. Not a lot of information about this. It was just going to be, about Catwoman. Now here is some interesting stuff, because these next ones you may think sound very familiar. Rapunzel. Morning cartoon writer Robert Mandel of The Adventures of the Galaxy Ranger and Starla and The Jewel Raiders was asked by Warner Brothers to write an animated film for Rapunzel in the 90s. Rapunzel Did not pan out, obviously, from Warner Brothers. Did not become an animated film. It didn't become an animated hit. Not until about 20, 30-ish years later, when Disney did it, Entangled. So that's a fun little coinky-dink that, obviously it's a fucking fairy tale that nobody owns. But it's just interesting to think what would have happened what if Warner Brothers made a Rapunzel movie that was like so culturally, Tangled isn't that culturally important. It didn't blow up the way some other Disney films did. But what if would Disney have still made Tangled if Warner Brothers basically did it first and was still in that sort of zeitgeisty area of mind? Here's another interesting one. The Snow Queen. Directed by Bill Kroyer and produced by Kroyer Films, the animation was in the works, but after disputes and arguments between Kroyer and Warner Brothers, Kroyer's being fired from another film called The Quest for Camelot, production on The Snow Queen was shut down. This is also in the mid to late 90s. The Snow Queen, if you're unaware, is the basis for Frozen. So yet another Warner Brothers film that they were going to make that gets canned goes on to become a highly successful Disney movie. If Warner Brothers made this, would Disney have still continued production on Frozen? They were going to call it The Snow Queen initially, and then they changed it so people wouldn't find Walt Disney's frozen head on the internet. But it's such an odd coincidence. Again, not really, because these are public domain things. But it's just so weird that 2 out of the 3 things I've read so far have started out as Warner Brothers properties, and then about 20-something years later, blow up as Disney properties. Next, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, another movie that was made by Disney after 15-20 years. An adaptation of the children's novel, Gina Davis was cast in 1997 to voice the female apprentice Sylvia. Bill Marsili was attached to screenwriting. Now, Bill Marsili, if I remember correctly, what did he do? I looked him up. I don't think... Oh, no, I'm thinking of somebody else. I apologize. Bill Marsili has done nothing since 2008, really. So ignore that. But that's fucking crazy. Moving on. Batman Arkham. Warner Brothers greenlit a 3rd animated film from the Batman animated series after Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm. Is this right? Is this the right name? I don't think it is. What is his name? Is it Boyd Kirkland? Is that what his name was? Yeah, Boyd Kirkland, who was the director on Batman the Animated Series, X-Men Evolution. What else did he do? Fucking Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the best goddamn Marvel animated show next to Spectacular Spider-Man. He also, of course, worked on Batman and Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero and Mask of the Phantasm. He was the director on those as well. He was attached to write and direct the 3rd in the film, or the 3rd in the franchise, Batman Arkham, and it would have been about Batman and Robin facing off against a collection of Arkham escapees. Batman falls in love with a woman voiced by Angie Harmon. Batman the Animated Series would reprise their roles. Concept art was created, but it was canceled in favor of Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Which is funny because the next canceled film from Warner Brothers was Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker again, the sequel. An untitled sequel that was planned but scrapped due to the controversies of Return of the Joker in 2000. It was deemed too dark and too just serious for children, so they're like, let's not continue. During the production of Batman Mystery of the Batwoman, which I feel like is what took the place of the Return of the Joker's sequel, Warner Brothers was like, hey, Boyd Kirkland, you know all about this Batman animated crap. Well, hey, we have a new movie coming out in just a year or so. Let's say it's 2002, so it's coming around in about 2003, 2004. and we want a direct-to-video feature animated film to act as a tie-in for this project. And Boyd Kirkland was like, okay, that sounds cool. What is it? Is it like Batman thing? Because I usually do Batman stuff. I do superhero stuff. And they're like, yes, it is, Boyd Kirkland. It is a Batman-related thing. It's a Halle Berry Catwoman movie. We want you to make an animated tie-in to it. So Boyd Kirkland wrote the script for this tie-in to Halle Berry's Catwoman. And the project was scrapped after the live-action movie came out because no one liked it. Okay, going back in time to Tim Burton's third Batman movie. During the early development of the canceled Catwoman spin-off, Burton expressed his interest in directing the third installment of the Batman film series that began with Batman in 1989. I should also note that I copied and pasted all this stuff straight from Wikipedia. The Monkees' lead drummer, Mickey Dolenz, was attached to star as the Riddler, the film's main antagonist. Also, Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face was supposed to occur in this film. That sounds familiar. With Billy D. Williams reprising his role as Dent from the first film. Along with them, Michelle Pfeiffer was attached to return as Catwoman, and of course this is where Marlon Wayans was going to be Robin. And Rene Russo as Chase Meridian, who ended up playing her? Nicole Kidman, that's who plays her. So, of course, if you talk about Batman, Batman Returns specifically, you'll know Warner Brothers wasn't happy with the dark direction Tim Burton went in. For some reason, they were shocked by that. They couldn't sell McDonald's toys. So after reading the script and seeing that it was just, quote, as gloomy as the previous film, oh, Tim, they decided to put Joel Schumacher as director of the third installment, leading to the release of Batman Forever, in which Burton served as a producer without being able to contribute ideas. Although they did, because they basically just stole the plot of Tim Burton's film and just made it a neon mess. Although I do stand to say that Batman Forever is a good film. Specifically, Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne Batman. I love him as Bruce Wayne. I think he does an incredible job. I think he's a great Batman. Okay. This is an interesting one. Let me look it up just to make sure I have the name of it right. Okay, yes, this is what it was apparently going to be called. So, Gotham, the Gotham TV show, where it's about teenage Bruce Wayne, and like all the villains are also teenagers, kind of, and it's like, Batman before Batman. I liked it. It's a good show. But in 1999, they were planning on making it then, too. So they were planning this fucking show for like at least 20 years. No, maybe like 15. I can't remember when Gotham came out. Here, I'm going to read these several paragraphs to you guys about the premise of the TV show Bruce Wayne. Imagine, if you will, a late 90s, early 2000s era show about teenage Bruce Wayne in the vein of Smallville. So that is what you got to picture here. In 1999, roughly a year after seeing the script he wrote for the Iron Giant get released, I don't know why that is included in this, Tim McCanley's pitched to Tolan Robinson's Productions a 62-page pilot script for a TV show revolving around the teenage years of Bruce Wayne, the future Batman, if you're unaware. The supporting characters included a grandfather type, two-faced friends, only one trustful cop, and an empire the hero would inherit. According to McCanley's, everyone knows the origin of Batman, but what was never answered in comics or any media were the questions of why and how. Which I assume he means like, oh, well, what happens in between his parents dying and when he becomes Batman? The pilot is bookended by shots of a cavern with Alfred Pennyworth as the narrator, telling it all in a flashback, which sounds kind of like the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones. Alfred bails soon-to-be 18-year-old Bruce Wayne from a London police station after Bruce has gotten himself into another fight. Alfred informs Bruce that the trustees from his family's company need to see him, and though he'd rather stay where he is, Bruce nods when Alfred tells him he has no choice. After having a nightmare about his parents' murder, Bruce wakes up in a private jet and turns on the TV to see every show talking about him, including one hosted by Vicky Vale. Meanwhile, Alfred reads a book on troubled teens. Arriving in Gotham City, Bruce ponders why anyone would live in a city like this. As he points out, running his company does not seem to be, quote, part of the plan. After being mobbed by reporters, the two finally arrive at Wayne Manor, where, after snapping at Alfred for bothering him because he got emotional from seeing his family's portrait, Bruce heads out, with Alfred at his side, driving the Rolls Royce. They arrive at the area now known as Crime Alley. I should point out I have not read this. This is the first time I've read this at all. Bruce visits the very place where his parents were killed. And also, don't forget, this is the first episode script. They visit Crime Alley, where he opens up to Alfred, saying that it was all his fault, all because he wanted to see Zorro, described by him as a silly movie about a hero who wears a costume and fights crime. Suddenly, thugs appear, and despite Alfred's pleas, Bruce fights them. Using martial arts that he has learned, Bruce fights, disarms, and defeats the thugs. Bruce and Alfred drop the thugs off at Gotham Police Department, but their report is almost ignored until Bruce is recognized by a 13-year-old fan, Barbara Gordon. A fan of what? Fan? A 13-year-old fan? Oh yeah, my daughter, she's a huge fan of this 18-year-old fucking son of a deceased fucking socialite family. And this was in 99 too. The two have a conversation, and Barbara introduces her father, someone Bruce already knows from when he was 6, Detective James Gordon. Also, notice any similarities between this and Batman Begins. Ignoring the board with notes and arrows pointing towards Wayne Corp, he asks Gordon who killed his parents. What the fuck does that mean? Ignoring the board with notes and arrows pointing towards Wayne Corp? Does that mean they're investigating Wayne Corp? And they just have like a big bulletin board with like Wayne Corp and then a bunch of arrows pointing towards it? Like, this is where we're investigating. He asks Gordon who killed his parents. Gordon shows Bruce the file on his parents, which is now a cold case because the killer was never caught. Oh, get it? Cold case. Chilling. When asked about the thugs or even his family's company, all Bruce says is that he's leaving soon because he wants nothing to do with Gotham City. As Bruce leaves, Gordon asks about Charles... Oh, I thought that said Palpatine. Charles Palantine, whom he's meeting the next day. While he nods, he notices if Gordon's words are a warning. What? What the fuck does that mean? The next day, he meets Charles Palantine. Bruce asks about the investigation. So yes, there is an investigation against Wayne Corp. And Palpatine notes that police commissioner... Palantine notes that the police commissioner is a close personal friend. As Bruce is about to sign what? Sign what? The deed over to the company to this guy, I guess. As Bruce is about to sign, he stops because Alfred and an old friend named Lucius Fox show up. He explains that he will look over the papers at his home. Now an intern, Fox reveals his father's accidental death. Quote unquote accidental. While Palantine reminds Bruce that he needs the papers signed first thing in the morning for his 18th birthday is only 2 days away. Knowing the danger Bruce is in now, Alfred suggests a lawyer. And Bruce thinks of an old friend, Harvey Dent. Again, he's only 18 years old. How old are these other people in comparison to him? How old's Harvey? You have to be a certain age to pass the bar. Maybe not in Gotham. Okay. He suggests his old friend Harvey Dent. Cut to, right in the middle of a costume party, Harvey welcomes Bruce back and says that he will look at the papers. Bruce stays at the party even though he hates costumes, because he spots a stunning woman wearing a tiger costume. Who do you think this is gonna be? Selina Kyle. Bruce is pulled away from Harvey, who wants him to meet his sister, which is interesting because Jeff Johns also made a Batman origin where Harvey has a sister. In like 2012 or something, they did that. While waiting, Bruce talks to an attractive girl wearing an angel costume. While Selina and Harvey come into the room, Bruce learns that the angel is Susan, Harvey's sister. Because Selina says she is, quote-unquote, saving Bruce from where he is, Susan leaves. Bruce becomes angry at Selina, so she leaves too. Fucking okay. Before he can do anything, Bruce is informed by Alfred that Gordon called for him at Wayne Chemical. Arriving there, noticing a green pool of hazardous chemicals, Gordon and Bruce only to learn neither one of... Oh, so they arrive, noticing a green pool of hazardous chemicals. Gordon and Bruce learn that neither one of them actually called the other to be there, so someone has set them up. It's a trap, it says. The access hatch closes and locks, and water rushes in. Working together, Gordon and Bruce find a tunnel 20 feet overhead, and using acrobatics, Bruce gets himself and Gordon to safety. Both agree that someone wants them dead. Nearby, Palantine watches. The next morning, Bruce and Gordon meet with Lucius Fox and his mother. So I guess Lucius is about the same age as Bruce. They're talking about his late father, whom they described him as nervous just before he died. As Fox says he will check around, Bruce meets with Harvey, who demands that he does not sign the papers. While this happens, Harvey gets 2 phone calls from his mother and his father, with him playing both sides. So I assume maybe his parents are divorced or something. I don't know. All of a sudden, Harvey's mood swings, and he tells Bruce to sign the papers. Bruce changes the subject and asks about Susan, and Harvey tells him the location of where she works. Hey, how's your sister doing? Oh, she works down at the dockyard. As they leave, 2 sedans come up behind the Rolls Royce and open fire. A chase begins and ends at where Susan works. The Gotham City... Oh my god, the Gotham City Youth Shelter? Oh my god, we're in a car chase. I'm getting shot at. Where do I go? The Youth Center. Meeting Susan, Bruce apologizes and asks for a date after he's just nearly been killed by a fucking assassins. Let's see. Successfully getting back on her good side. Back at Wayne Manor, Bruce creates a ruse to explain why he did not turn the papers in. Just then, Gordon calls and tells him that what Fox has found. A weekly shipment of hazardous waste. Bruce wants to meet, but Gordon tells Bruce to stay. Bruce gets an idea, alarming Alfred. Later, Bruce arrives at the Wayne Chemical, dressed all in black. For some reason. I don't understand why. I guess it's because Gordon didn't want him to go, but like, motherfucker, you probably only told Bruce. So like, Bruce showing up in costume anyway really doesn't give anything away. He's 18 years old. He's probably not that tall. He's probably not that, like, you know, you can tell it's him. Anyway, he shows up in all black and follows Gordon, Rupert Montoya, and Harvey Bullock. Oh, that's good. They gender swapped Renee Montoya. Suddenly, the 3 encounter the bad guys. Bruce helps, but stays out of sight the whole time. After defeating the last guy with a banana peel, okay, I feel like I've been tricked here. Is this real? Is there an actual fucking... Okay, Bruce Wayne TV show. What is the source of this? What is this? Okay, Bruce Wayne TV series. Where are they getting this from? This does not say anything. What's... Wait, here we go. What is this? Bruce Wayne the pilot from KryptonSite.com. Oh my god, this is like a full fucking script. Okay, banana peel. Nope, it's not showing up here in Act 2. What about Act 1? No. Possibly Act 3. Nothing. Act 4. Maybe it's Act 4. Oh my god. Okay, so this is the full, like, fucking script, apparently. Still munching... Okay. What is this? This is what I should have been reading from. Oh, this is so much better. Act 4, exciting car chase. Okay. Bruce arrives and is interrogated by one of the youths. He sees Barbara. Bruce tries to get back on Susan's good side, asks her out on a date, blah, blah, blah. The phone rings. Gordon meets the cut to Wayne Chemical. Gordon is there in the dark alley with two of his best officers, Rupert Montoya and Harvey Bullock. Gordon warns Bullock that with all of the donuts he's eating, he's going to get fat. This is from KryptonSite.com, by the way. I don't know where they got access to this from, but fucking sure, whatever. Let's say this is it. So he calls Bullock fat. They go, and a dark figure drops from the ground dressed all in black. He grins and starts heading after them. When his arm is snagged by an umbrella handle, Alfred tells him that if he reveals himself, he can never take that back, and that he can trust no one. Your father trusted people, and now he's dead. What are you saying? You saying somebody he trusted, somebody at Wayne Corp killed my father? Bruce asks. Why not? They're trying to kill you. Alfred gives Bruce some sage advice and dialogue. So can we go home? Can we go home now? No, Bruce tells him. Gordon still needs my help. I just won't let him see me. There's a whole confrontation between Gordon, his men, and the bad guys inside of Wayne Chemical. Bruce does what he can to help, staying out of sight. He sees Gordon down below doing his thing and says to himself, do I have to do everything around here? Bruce bumps into a stool with a lunchbox on top. He opens it up and begins snacking on a banana. All this crime fighting sure works up an appetite. The bad guy exits the elevator and Bruce smashes him with the stool. Alfred yells from up above, Gordon can't just find that person lying on there unconscious. Oh my god. What is this? Still munching on the banana. So the reason that they put the banana peel there is so when Gordon searches the building, he'll think that this guy slipped on a banana peel and knocked himself unconscious. Still munching on the banana, Gordon looks down, getting closer. Bruce stares at the banana peel. Bruce and Alfred, who's apparently just come with him in his butler outfit, not disguised at all, make their exit. Gordon comes in, sees the guy, ellipses, who slipped on a banana peel. As Bruce and Alfred head back to the rolls, I might have found something I'm really good at, Bruce exclaims. Physical comedy, Alfred. That's what I'll do. I'll become the new Buster Keaton. Oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Banana peel. Okay, should I still... okay, I guess I'll just keep reading from here. As Bruce and Alfred head back to the rolls, okay, he did that. Back at the police station, Bruce and Alfred meet up with Gordon and his men. Bruce tells Gordon that he got bored at home and was there all night. It turns out that the trucks were supposed to be used to export chemicals were actually being used to traffic drugs. Gordon tells them that the head bad guy is dropping hints about the higher-ups at Wayne Corp and that he wants to make a deal. They're interrupted by a desk sergeant, Lieutenant Flass, who wants to see Gordon and his men. Bruce and Alfred leave, mission accomplished. Flass tells Gordon that he and his men, that they have to cut their prisoners loose because it was a legal search and seizure. Flass comes up with more excuses. Gordon comes up with a permission from the EPA. Flash smiles, tells Gordon he's right. Gordon and his officers return to the interrogation room, happy that they won. The laughter dies away when they get to the cell and realize the bad guy's been hung. Actually, it'd be hanged is the proper word. Desk sergeant tells them that they tried to get him, but it was too late, just like Epstein. Bruce and Alfred get back to Wayne Manor, where they enter to complete darkness. Bruce hears scuffling noises. And then the lights come on. Surprise! It's a surprise party. All of Bruce's quote-unquote friends are there. Wait, what? Hold on. Yeah, no, this is apparently the same thing. Banana peel. I'm going back to what I have on my notes. There were drugs. Get bad guy hang himself. Yeah, it's a surprise party, which is, according to how this is written, seems to be taking place the exact same night. But after this, it says that Lucius Fox, Harvey, Susan, Selena, Billy Fox, Jim Gordon, and his daughter Barbara are somehow there. They beat Alfred and Bruce to the house. Bullock and Montoya? Why are they there? It's midnight. Bruce is alive and he's 18. Barbara rushes up to be the first one to give him a hug and wish him a happy birthday. Bruce owns Wayne Corp now. We don't need these, Harvey explains, throwing the papers into the fireplace. Everyone cheers. The doorbell rings. It's Palantine. Palantine asks if Bruce ever found the contract and then looks at the fireplace. Well, I thought so. Palantine tells Bruce he has some bad news, that some unpleasant illegal things were found at Wayne Chemical. He says that once word gets out, Wayne Corp stock may be taking a beating. He then tells Bruce he brought him a present, a book, Business for Beginners. He offers to be Bruce's mentor or advisor in the days ahead. Harvey calls out for a speech. Bruce tells his new friends that he's got a lot to learn, that he's staying in Gotham. He's not sure if he can make a difference, but he's going to stick around and find out. That's basically what I have in my notes as well. Then everyone gathers and a photo is taken, which is a photo that we apparently see at the beginning of the episode. Let's see. Which I assume is where Alfred is in the cave. Yeah. So it's like, it opens, Alfred's like going through the cave looking at memorabilia. He looks at the photo of everybody on the birthday. And that's the one we saw. The shot returns to the small cavern. The voiceover from Alfred says, "And so it begins." And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the proposed plot episode to the Bruce Wayne origin series. I have some additional notes, such as, continuing from the plot, Bruce Wayne would think that his family's company might not be responsible for the decline of Gotham City and corruption within, but they may also be trying to kill him. A story arc would have centered on crooked businessmen trying to take over Wayne Enterprises, which it seems like that's already what the first episode is. Bruce coming to conflict with local mafia led by Rupert Thorne and Carmine Falcone, later to be taken over by Oswald Cobblepot. Bruce's ally, Detective Gordon, has his own enemies at the GCPD, Flass, and Gordon's story arc would resolve around his struggle with police corruption. When doesn't it? Harvey Dent is Bruce's best friend, a few years older than him, rich, spoiled, selfish, and shameless. Harvey's friendship with Bruce might lead him to a different route later in life. Had the show been greenlit, Harvey's story would have been fleshed out. His abusive father, troubled childhood, struggles through law school, and subtle hints as his development into Two-Face. Yeah, subtle. Despite the character of Susan Dent in the pilot, Bruce was to have a number of romantic interests in the show's first season, including Barbara Gordon. What the fuck? No. What? Excuse me? What? What does it say on Krypton's site for Barbara Gordon? It still says she's 13 years old. Why? What? Excuse me? What? Why? What? It was supposed to have a number of romantic interests in the first season's show. First season. Including Barbara Gordon, a 13-year-old. He's 18. We saw him turn 18. A young TV gossip reporter named Vicky Vale, a psychology student named Harleen Quinzel. These three would play important roles in Bruce's future. A few characters from the Batman mythos would have made appearances in either certain episodes or the entire show. Examples of these characters include the mysterious quote-unquote consultant, who is Selena Kyle, a would-be comedian described as Sam Kinison, but angrier, named Jack Napier, because no one can come up with a name better than that for the Joker. A psychology professor named Jonathan Crane, a disturbed con man named Edward Nygma, and even a strange kid from Smallville. The strange kid, Clark Kent, aka Superman if you were unaware, was going to appear in an episode that was planned, though it is unknown if it would be in the first season or a later one. Though interviews suggest it would be in the first season, all that is known is that Bruce would have met Clark after he came to town for a Wayne Corp-sponsored conference of high school journalists. Bruce would dismiss Clark at first as a nice kid from the sticks, before realizing that something is odd about this farm boy. As the series progressed, Bruce would become more and more fascinated by the criminal element, spending time at Arkham Asylum, restoring Wayne Manor, and bringing in a series of martial arts trainers. He would become more of a night owl, as he notes he enjoys riding his motorcycle with the leather and helmet, which makes him anonymous, which is something else that they carried forward in the Batman from 2022. Did that come out this year? Yeah. It was planned to be towards the end of the first season that Bruce and Alfred find a cavern underneath Wayne Manor, which would become the Batcave. This was incorporated into the TV series Gotham 2014 to 2019. In later seasons, it would be planned for Bruce to take bigger steps, such as joining the GCPD to be with Gordon and even the FBI. These do not last, the reason being that Bruce can't work in the system. While primarily set in Gotham, Bruce would have traveled abroad to China, Korea, France, and other parts of the world to learn defensive attacks, criminology, detective skills, and manhunting. Well, he is the masked manhunter. He would have trained with heroes such as Ted Grant and Richard Dragon, oh my god, and villains like Slade Wilson and Ra's al Ghul, and the latter of which was incorporated into Batman Begins. Bruce's skills would increase as the series progressed, perfecting his martial arts, car racing, helicopter and airplane flying, gymnastics, and much more. While the world thinks he's a rich kid living it up, it is actually work for a bigger purpose. Once Bruce Wayne gains control of Wayne Corp, he uses the company's resources to help him in his cause. This would include R&D and special weapons and prototypes, vehicles that all disappear and end up as part of Batman's arsenal, which is, again, it happens in Batman Begins. Wayne Corp would win a bid to build the FBI's computer criminal database, which I assume would become the Bat computer. Like the pilot episode, each episode would be framed with book-ended scenes of an older Alfred telling the tale through his memoirs. Oh man, although it is unknown if the scene was to be in the study with a crashing bat like the classic comics, the series finale would have been about Bruce figuring out the best way to stop the criminal element in Gotham by becoming a bat. And that was the proposed Bruce Wayne origin story series from 1999. Imagine if we got that, and what year did Smallville come out? I never watched Smallville, but it must have been, what, was it 90s and early 2000s? Was it early? 2001, so yeah. God damn, imagine this could have run concurrently with Smallville. There could have very well have been a small screen universe of the DC characters. They could have done this. They probably would have tried to do Wonder Woman and would have gotten canceled after the pilot episode, like all the other attempts. Aquaman they were trying to do. But imagine if they got this off the ground and then they got Smallville also off the ground, then they could be crossing these motherfuckers over all the time. This would have been the CW before the CW. Other canceled projects, which are a bit more well-known, such as George Miller's Justice League Mortal. I'm not going to talk about that one because it's been talked about to death. There was supposed to be a documentary about it like 5 years ago that never came out. Green Arrow Escape from Supermax. I think Comic Pop has a video all about that, so check that out. There was going to be a Booster Gold film from the Sci-Fi Channel, so you know that would have been good. A Metal Men film, an Hourman TV series, and a Blue Beetle TV series in 2011, I believe. So Blue Beetle, you know, that's the only one that's really made it out of those that I just listed. Metal Men as a film idea is so crazy, but at the same time, Guardians of the Galaxy is now a household name. And the final piece I have, as we're approaching the 2-hour mark, is this. Sergeant Rock. If you don't know who Sergeant Rock is, he's this badass World War II sergeant who leads Bad Company. Is that what it is? Isn't it Bad Company? I think so. Easy Company. That's what it is. Easy Company. he's a World War II American sergeant soldier. He's from the universe where, it's just always World War II because those were when all the stories were made. So he's just continually fighting in World War II. He's a really cool character. Some of the earliest comics I actually did pick up because I was obsessed with World War II as a child. But in the late 80s and early 90s, Warner Brothers wanted to make a Sergeant Rock film. Now, think to yourself, who do you think in the late 80s, early 90s, would play this badass American soldier in World War II perfectly? And I want you to comment in the comments right now what you would think. If you're watching the YouTube video, comment on there. If you're listening to the podcast, go to my YouTube channel and comment who you would think would play Sergeant Rock late 80s, early 90s. Say, I think Sergeant Rock should be played by, or I think Sergeant Rock will be played by this person. I'll wait. I want to see what you say first. Okay, you got it? All right, you press post. Is it there? I get every notification. I see all your comments. Is it there? Okay. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Arnold Schwarzenegger was attached to the title role of the Sergeant Rock film. Despite the seeming incongruity of an Austrian actor playing an American GI in World War II. The screenplays were written by David Webb Peoples in 1987, Stephen E. D'Souza in 1988, John Milieu in 1993, and Brian Helgeland in 1996. They were working on a Sergeant Rock movie for a decade, and nothing ever came of it. Depicting Rock as having a German-American father and being able to speak German, a skill he uses to ambush the enemy, which is how they write it to make it so Arnold Schwarzenegger can play him. Producer Joe Silver still attempted to make a Sergeant Rock movie. John Cox has written the latest screenplay, which is not based on any of the previous screenplay drafts. Cox has stated that Schwarzenegger is no longer attached to the project. In April 2007, David Gambino, vice president at Silver Pictures, said, "The good news is that we have a fantastic screenplay and everybody's really happy about it. It's really just about trying to attach the cast right now and really decide what the movie is going to be, how we're going to make it." Bruce Willis was reportedly under consideration for the role, and in 2008, Guy Ritchie reported that the film had been shelved due to his work on Sherlock Holmes. But he confirmed that Sergeant Rock will indeed be set during World War II and include the members of Easy Company. Silver later announced in 2010 that the setting had been changed from World War II to another battle in the near future. So at that point, why even make it Sergeant Rock if it's not World War II? Since 2010, there have been no other announcements. And that are just some of the canceled Warner Brothers DC projects. Some of those weren't DC, but those were some of the Warner Brothers scrapped projects that were worked on. They didn't make it as far as Batgirl did or the Scoob animated movie, but they were worked on, and they were wiped from existence. Imagine all the things we don't even know about. All those secrets sitting up there in that water tower. Think of what's up there. It's not water, I'll tell you that. I don't know what I'm doing. Check out Destructo Boy, etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Make sure you capitalize the B, T, and W. Please, I need the medical money for my finger. Please buy my comics. Again, $9.99 plus shipping and handling. Comes with a free sketch of any character of your choosing. Free head sketch. $5 for the PDF file. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. If you're listening on some sort of podcast device, leave it a nice rating. It really helps me out. Like this video, subscribe for more. I'm still working on the What Is video. It's, oh my God. It's just, there's so fucking much that happens in Crisis on Infinite Earths. There's so many panels I need to edit and like fucking get like cropped correctly. It's just, oh my God, so fucking much. It's 12 whole goddamn issues and they really use those pages up. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next week for, I'm not sure. I don't know what my topic next week should be. I might look through the topics I've had suggested by listeners. If you have any ideas for any topics I should cover, let me know. Other than that, I will see you next time. Bye.